How you doing, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Abarcast. Welcome to episode 2. I have a special guest here. I know you, but for the people that don't know you, who are you?
First of all, what's up, man?
Thank
you for having me, bro. My name is Joe Fucarino.
Mr. Superman.
Yeah, well, that was the old Instagram.
Why do they call you Mr. Superman? Why did they call you Mr. Superman?
You want the real reason?
Yes, please.
You want the real?
Please.
You know, ex-girlfriend gave that to me a few years ago. Well, like 10 years ago.
Why?
You know, I do a lot of shit, I guess. I don't know. I guess I was a good man at the time. That was in the beginning of the relationship, though. In the beginning of the relationship, I had the nickname, and then I think it fizzled out.
All right. And you are, to my understanding, a filmmaker and a media personality.
Correct.
Okay. Do you care to elaborate that? Do you do anything else on the side? Is that your career? Is that just your job?
Yeah. So I'm a filmmaker and podcaster. And I'm CEO of Therapy Without a Degree and Jersey Media.
Nice.
So those are the two businesses that I have. With Therapy Without a Degree, we do the filmmaking, we do a podcast, and I'm also, I've done other films as well, but that's really what that is. That's like an unconventional therapy brand. And then with the Jersey Media, that's really where we do a lot of different things. We get, graphic design, film work, sound, audio, marketing, advertising for people. So that's where we get funky.
Just like the that YouTube series that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing? Is it like, when did you start that? How did it start?
So the YouTube series is actually Therapy Without a Degree based on the podcast.
Okay.
So we had the brand going already. The brand's been going for like 6 years. And then I was just telling you before we started recording, I was like, I think it's time to level it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Now, did you hire actors for these things, or like are these just like the podcasters in your company? Are these guests?
It's a little bit of both, man. I mean, honest with you, like most of them did not have almost any acting experience, or very, very little. You know, that's one thing. One of my gifts that I will say that I think I definitely have is I could see somebody. I could like see you, and I could be like, yo, you would be really good at this. Like I'm good at finding those things, and for acting I've always been very like, I haven't been doing film for a long time, but I've been researching it, and I've been into film for a very long time, and I just had a hunch, with the people. So I did all the casting myself. We casted, a lot of people. Some worked out, some didn't, but yeah, man, most of them people were never even acted before.
Now, are you guys like deep into your episodes right now? Did it just start? Is it only in YouTube?
So right now it's only on YouTube.
Okay.
It could be somewhere else. This is the time to where if you want us to go on your network, you can reach out.
There you go.
So it's 3 episodes, right? Because obviously it was all funded, by myself. And it's hard out here. Film is expensive.
It's 3 episodes. How long is it each?
Like 30 minutes each. Well, one's a little shorter, but they're average 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes.
And is it one of those series where like it's a different story every episode, or does it continue?
Yeah, it's a different story every episode.
Oh, nice.
So it's anthology. So every single episode for those 3 is completely different. And they're actually kind of based on the podcast and the brand. So the very first one is how I got the idea for the brand.
Okay.
So if you want to know how, we got the idea for Therapy Without a Degree, you go to the very first episode, and that's straight up your answer.
Wow.
And then the second one was pretty much like kind of like almost a little bit of the first topic we ever did. So if you go back to our very first episode, you'll catch elements from that in that episode. Same thing with the next one. So then the second episode, I took that and I put it in the third episode of the web series. You'll catch little elements of it. So that was really the vibe to it. But they're completely different stories from what we did on a podcast. Like it's like more of a drama series.
Nice.
The podcast is different, barbershop style talk.
Right.
But this was a scripted series, with characters.
And by the way, guys, his pages will be tagged on this page on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, etc. We'll just make sure that it's on there, just so they could get that episode 1, episode 2, and all that stuff, so that they could kind of like refer back to that YouTube series. Word. I've seen a few scenes, and I'm like, holy shit, man! Like this is crazy. It's dope, and the production is very cool. Like, it doesn't feel like it's one of those, things where people are just recording it on their iPhone and they're just kind of following you around. Like, no, it's like
this was because it's very different from like don't get me wrong. I do a lot of vlog stuff and I do a lot of podcast stuff and a lot of social media stuff because I'm a social media manager for many companies and I do a lot of social media work.
Right.
That's I think what some people thought it was gonna be. And I was like, nah, this is like I say it's a full TV show. Like it's called a web series, but to me it's a TV show.
Yeah.
It's just digital. And, shout out to I Am Zane Studios. He was the one that did it with me. It was between me and him. We wore many hats.
Nice.
He was the cinematographer, the director of photography, the gaffer, a lot of different things. I've learned so much from him,
Nice.
So if it wasn't for him, that whole season wouldn't have been created.
Nice. Shout out to him.
Yeah, Zane Studios is the one. He was the one that, got those shots and, has the camera to do those certain things.
Right.
And yeah, we try to do high end shit, man.
And the therapy without a degree, you said that, did that start 6 years ago or?
So that was 6 years ago, yeah.
6 years ago. So now how did that start? Like if someone who didn't watch your first episode or the first episode of your series, like give me a nice little summary of how it started.
So basically it was from a Uber ride. So I was actually doing Uber and I met a customer, and I did Uber for 3 years, right, full time. I quit my job. It was like right when I was like just smelling entrepreneurship coming, I quit my job. I was making $60,000 a year as for Sprint and sales, and I was just getting out of a relationship, and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna do Uber full time.
This was after Superman.
This was
the relationship.
after that,
gotcha.
So things went left, kids involved, all that stuff. So I'm like, you know what, my mom just passed away 2 years, prior. So something in me was just like, yo, Joe, you just need to get out, And it was crazy because I was making good money. A lot of people around me were like, why the fuck would you leave? You're making, good money. I was really good in sales. But I said something in me just told me to do it, So I did it. And not only within like 6 months, I ended up meeting a guy in an Uber ride. And he just needed some advice, some perspective, on just like regular real life stuff. And it was, to me, it hit me because what he was asking wasn't so deep. I mean, it was, if you really want to tap into it, but it was like some regular shit to where like, it made me think, wow, sometimes we really just need someone to talk to, or sometimes we really need some perspective from someone that we don't know anything about.
Right.
Because it's like, let's say me and you, we're friends for a while or whatever, you might not want to tell me about something you got going on with your health, or maybe with your other friend because it's bias, or with your, because maybe like you ever dating a girl or whatever, and maybe the homie don't like her. And like you don't want to tell him something because now he's gonna be like, oh well, fuck her, because he doesn't like her. He's not gonna give you a real biased perspective.
Right.
So I was like, wow. I was like, this guy can meet me, ask me something, get my perspective, no judgment, because he knows once he gets at this car, he's never ever gonna see me again.
Right.
And that's how a lot of it was. It was kind of like a thing when doing Uber. I got a lot of that. I wasn't always the talker, but sometimes you were if people wanted to get things off their chest.
Right.
And I started to realize how many people in the world just needed to just let something out for a little while, or who just wanted to hear your perspective on a situation.
Now, what was the question?
You got to go watch the episode to go find out the question.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, go watch episode 1 of the series.
So yeah, guys, check out that episode to find out that question or the questions. All right. Have you? So that life event, that happened. Prior to that, obviously you had different plans then, right? Because you just kind of like stumbled upon this. Like,
oh, yeah.
It wasn't planned. You can agree maybe that you've not always wanted to do this because this was just kind of like random. So like, what was your plan? What was Joe's plan before?
I was in restaurant. I was in the restaurant industry. So, right after high school, you start working. I was instantly in restaurants.
Right.
And I worked in every restaurant you could think of: Applebee's, Chevy's, Pizza Hut, diners, everything. 42nd Street, Marriott Marquis, places like that. And then I was getting sick of that lifestyle because I was like working my ass off in my early 20s. I didn't really go out. I'm not really much of a go out or a drink or anything like that. Then I transitioned because I was in a relationship. You have a kid. I started transitioning into sales because sales was like the next step up. I feel like, to make money and things like that. And I learned a lot from the restaurants, brought it into sales. And I was just working, man. That was really what it was. It was crazy, but I wasn't having I was very average, I was very just, comfortable in just working, having good, I was making, like I said, I was making 60 grand a year in the wireless industry at the age of 24, 25 years old. I was making more than some of my family that were teachers and stuff. And I saw, I was going to make 120, 130 grand within the next year or two because I was getting promoted quick. I was moving up. Commissions were good. So that was just the route. Unfortunately, that was just, and to me, that's very average. It's very just like limiting.
Yeah. And it's draining being in the restaurant industry. I mean, I used to work there as well, and it's very long hours, especially if you're trying to move up, as manager or supervisor or whatnot. Like, you're literally going to be there a minimum 12 hours.
So that's why I got out. That's why I shifted into sales, because I was busting my ass and I was making what I thought was good money at the time. I thought I was making like $700 a week, and I'm like, damn, this is great. But then I'm like, damn, I'm getting out 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and I'm trying to have a family, and I'm trying to have a life and see my friends and the people I love.
Right.
So then I transitioned into sales, but then I kept looking at what the next pay rate was, because I was always about to always get promoted. And then I would just look at the money and I'd be like, I'm not happy with that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be happy with that because I knew the hours. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's not freedom. So I would just be like out and go find something better.
Right. That's crazy. I always tell my friends, and I always tell my clients, I always tell people who are young especially, I always feel as if growing up you need to always work at a restaurant environment or food business just so you could be at the other side of the table. Yeah. Just to know what they go through. Yeah, because I'll be honest, I was brought up by, a Hispanic household, and we're infamous for being like horrible tippers. We used to be like $5. We used to call in Applebee's. I used to work at Applebee's too. We used to be like, the $5 table, $5 table. In Totowa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I used to work there. So it would be like, oh man, a Spanish family came of 10. Regardless of the check, it would be like $300 check, $400 check, $5 tip. It's a $5 table.
I used to take it though. I was that crazy five. I'd be like, I'll take all the tables. So go on.
So what I'm saying is, like, after I worked at the business industry, I was like, damn, like I thought we used to, or the restaurant people, they would get paid hourly, and then on top of that was tips. It's not like Cali. It's like that in Cali, right? So here in Jersey, it's a little different, and most of our income when you're working at a restaurant is, tips. So I became a phenomenal tipper after that. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I also agree, and I also feel as if we should, as a man, always be working or should work at a sales environment, sales job at somewhat, just because at the end of the day, we have to sell ourselves to, a woman at some point of our lives. You know what I'm saying? We have to sell ourselves. Yeah. So we try to make our own value, and we have to sell that image or sell us to the person, significant other. Yeah. You know what I mean? So on Instagram, I did a little bit of stalking. I do my research on my guests before they come onto my page, onto my platform, onto my podcast. And I've seen that your goal is to overcome mental health struggles. Yeah. Now, is that because of your past history?
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to help others, overcome that, and I've definitely dealt with that, my whole life. I've dealt with, depression, and I've gotten over a lot of it. I've healed myself, thank God, within these last few years, because, even a joke just a few years ago was not okay. I took a lot of self-assessment, a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation, a lot of podcasts, a lot of videos, a lot of just self-talks, a lot of drives, a lot of music therapy to do that. But I will say that, life is completely different now, because I still have things go on to this day that would break me. You know what I'm saying? That would have, just a few years ago would have been that last thing to put me over the edge. So, within everything I do, I always try to speak upon things to just help people out, in any way I can. You're not a therapist, you're not this, you're not that. Everyone can only help themselves. But at the end of the day, I just want to be, just a role model, be the best I could be to maybe help others through my journey.
Yeah, sometimes you need just a year, a year to just kind of like have someone listen, and then that's it. You just vented something out, and you just kind of go from that, right? Yeah. Do you think it's okay for anyone to ask for help, or do you think someone should just kind of like find their own, path to just overcome it themselves?
Oh no, I think it's always okay. It's always okay to ask. I'm a firm believer of that. Like, why not? And you could ask all different types of people. I mean, I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we don't ask. Or we don't talk to people. We don't talk and just let out our feelings or let out our emotions. People are not mind readers. If you like, we don't know. I don't know what you're going through. Unless you say it.
Right.
I can't guess. We got our own shit going on.
Yeah.
You got to ask sometimes. You got to ask for help. I mean, you can only do so much sometimes by yourself. We're always stronger together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm recalling the long days that, my first few years as a trainer. As I mentioned before in my podcast, I'm almost like a psychologist. I listen to problems. It's a nice outlet for my clients.
Yeah.
Now, when I come home, I'm mentally tired, mentally drained, sometimes not physically, but I'm honestly mentally drained from listening to problems and things like that. Now, recalling when I was in a relationship, sometimes my girlfriends would just kind of like, hey, I need this, I need that, I need some, advice because I'm going through this mentally. And sometimes I'll be home, I'll be there, but I'm not there mentally. I'm just kind of like just drained. Like I'm not listening to her problems just because I'm just kind of like, dude, all I've been doing is just listening to problems for 16 hours straight. The last thing I want is to listen to my girl's problems right now. And it sounds selfish, but it's kind of like, like I'm drained.
Shit, yeah.
So not many. I know as a trainer, especially for someone who's successful, I know that if I tell her, listen, all I've been doing is listening to problems all day, last thing I want to do is hear that from you, she's not going to understand because she's not a trainer.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Or if I speak to a psychologist, maybe arguably they'll understand, right? So, that being said, do you think it's okay if I were to, let's say, tell my girlfriend at the time, or tell my girlfriend now, let's say, listen, I cannot hear your problems. I need to vent to you about my issues, about my work day. Do you think, especially now in this culture, do you think it's, looked down upon for, let's say, a guy to just say, hey, listen, I have my feelings. I want to vent as well. Because, if I'm swiping through TikTok, I'm swiping through Instagram, I'm swiping through Snapchat, there's women out there that just, or even men that just kind of like look down on other men saying, hey, you're like, why are you asking for help?
Yeah.
Just get through it yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you think it's looked down upon? Is it okay? Is that okay?
I don't think it's, I think you should be able to just speak up. You know what I mean? Especially as men too, man. Like that's why a lot of men, men are always the ones with the number one stats in depression. You know what I mean? So it's
and
like,
suicide.
Man, and that's pretty much. I mean, that's what it leads to.
Yeah.
It ends up getting there. Unfortunately, with people that you start suppressing things so fucking much.
Right, but it's just being devil's advocate. Because I want to have like an intelligent conversation here. Yeah. Let's say I tell, I say that, listen, I'm having issues, I'm having problems, mentally I'm not there, etc. I'm venting to my psychologist who's, who's a woman, or my girlfriend who's a woman. And then they end up saying, just kind of like, man up. Like, does a woman always want to hear their man crying?
Well, simple. And that's not the woman for you.
What about the psychologist? Same thing?
Maybe that's just not the right one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think some people just need to like, but that's all part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'd be here forever. We had that talk of like, sometimes you do need to just take the fucking hit and keep moving forward.
Right.
Some people do wallow in their adversity and they don't know how to push forward. Right. But it's like at the end of the day, that's a whole nother conversation with it. But I do think, we do have to express ourselves. And it's like, if you feel that your lover or your psychiatrist or your friend is giving you that just man up, then deuces. You know what I mean? Like that has, you shouldn't compromise, with love. You shouldn't like do all, that's not love. That's just you settling,
What about your boys? If you're trying to open up to, we're boys, I'm trying to open up to you, and instead of you saying, bro, just fucking grow some balls, like you just got to get through it, or I'm trying to get over my ex, and you're just kind of like, dude, she was a hoe, get over it, etc. When I'm just trying to actually have a conversation.
Yeah, then they're not really like they maybe you're cool with them. You can say what up to them, but you wouldn't really consider them. I mean, that's just the world just showing you people's true colors, and I don't mean true colors in a negative way because everyone has their specific lane. As we get older, you never know. One person that you thought maybe you guys would be like this with, you're not. You know what I mean? As you get older, people are going through different lanes. And not to say a slow lane, a fast lane, whatever, but yeah, I mean, when people give you that answer, you would say, "Oh, okay." I know now not to go to you for that.
Like checklist. All right.
Yeah, I know these are not the conversations.
That's not my boy. That's not my girl.
Well, no, they could be your boy.
Okay.
But these are not the conversations that me and you are going to share.
Right. I got you.
Like maybe we're just going to go for drinks. We're not gonna. That's our relationship.
Right.
And at least But no, that's not.
This conversation kind of reminds me of a few clips that I've seen on TikTok and on YouTube. Just recently, I heard about this man. I don't know if you know him, Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
Kevin Samuels, he's all about men's growth, mentality, being a high value man, etc.
Of course.
And he was always tied into different podcasts like Academics and Fresh and Fit, and the guy Andrew Tate, etc. And I was listening to an episode of, one of the big G's, Andrew Tate, who says depression isn't real. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's 100% real. I do think, it's all based on your perspective. It's how you're perceiving things.
Right.
If you're perceiving this as, the glass is half full.
Right.
Or yours, you know what I'm saying? Like, yours right there, you could look at that and be like, damn, I'm upset. My drink is almost empty. That could fuck you up. You could be so damn upset. Or you could say, oh, guess what? Damn, I finished that. Now, if I want another one, I can go have another one. That means I'm ready for round 2, or that means I just enjoyed myself by having it. It's like looking at the perspective of it. A lot of times people's perspective. So for someone that maybe always has a glass half full mentality, maybe depression isn't real for them because they're always looking at it
in a positive way.
Half full.
Right.
But if that one person, if I'm saying no, I'm freaking out about that, my experience is different than yours. So for me, that depression is real for me because how I'm taking the situation is completely different. And so once people change that perspective, that's when that depression doesn't be real anymore. You're always going to have certain things.
And is that the goal for everyone to kind of change that perspective?
I believe so. That's my number one overall thing is change your perspective.
I like that. Yeah.
Once you start doing that, trust me, like you get into a car accident, everyone normally would flip out. You got to be like, oh, damn, thank God. Maybe this saved me from a worse accident, from dying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like things like that. Like anyone should ever look up the 9/11 story. There was people that was like, had a blister on their fucking foot from wearing shoes that they wore every single fucking day. Every single day.
Yeah.
And then that one day they get a blister. And he's so mad and he has to go home and change his shoes. And he ends up saving his life. There's like so many things like that happen, but we just get angry at the situation.
Yeah.
We don't look at the glass half full.
Right. I would want to play you a small little clip of a perspective on depression by Andrew Tate.
Okay.
If we could just watch it. I just want to hear your input, your reaction. All right. This is from the Fresh Fit podcast. And this is when he was a guest here.
You went viral for saying depression isn't real.
Oh. Yeah, I went big time viral. I had every
J.K. Rowling. Yeah, everybody.
All of Hollywood was gunning for me. Right? They were very upset that I told the truth.
Can we talk about that? Your views on depression not being real, and you give the toxically masculine, unfiltered, raw side of it.
Well, depression is another weapon they use to destroy our masculine energy, right? That's another weapon they use because the majority of depressed people are men. Men suffer from depression more than females because a man's life is worse than a female's life.
Facts.
A man's life's much harder, right?
Facts.
So another way they destroy us is they convince us to be absolutely selfish. Depression is nothing but extreme selfishness. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to tell you why it's not real in a second. But if you're depressed, you're living inside of your mind, you're obsessed with how you feel, you don't care about anything outside of yourself, and you're an exceptionally selfish person. That's all they're trying to do is convince you and teach you to be extremely selfish. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this right here, right now. because there's a whole bunch of famous people, Lincoln Park and whatever, they killed themselves. If you have children and you kill yourself, you're not a man. I don't care what you're feeling. I don't care how sad you are. You have children to take care of. You're going to embarrass your children. You're going to leave your children without a father.
Andrew, can we say that one more time?
Because you're sad. If you have children and you kill yourself, you were never a man to begin with. Absolute garbage.
Facts.
Garbage. And the only reason this crap happens is because of the acceptance of depression. People say that depression is stigmatized. It's the complete opposite. It's accepted now to the point where it's almost promoted. It's insane. Let me tell you something. Depression is not real. Feeling depressed is real. So you can feel depressed, but you feel depressed, and that is a natural biological evolutionary trigger for you to change something in your life. That's your own mind telling you you're unhappy about X. If I went to jail today, I'd be depressed because I'm in jail. Right. I haven't caught depression. I don't have a disease. I'm just upset with my situation.
Yep.
I have people mess with me all the time. I'm fat and I can't get a girlfriend because I'm depressed. I'm like, no, pancake lover. You're depressed because you're fat and you can't get a girlfriend. Do you understand? This is the point, right? So for a lot of people, your life is depressing. A lot of you out there, if you're sitting there and you say you've suffered from depression, you probably live a depressing life. You probably live a depressing life. So if I was you, I'd be depressed. But if you were me, you'd be happy. Do you know what could solve depression for most poor people? $1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Boom. So how is it a disease? So when I say this to people, most of them agree and they go, okay, but if that's true, why do famous people kill themselves? And I say, well, I know you think you outsmarted me, but I'm Andrew Tate. And I have the answer. The reason is twofold. This absolute acceptance of depression and acceptance of weakness. When you accept anything, to a degree, you're promoting it. Weakness is promoted now in men, right?
Yeah.
So let's take Robin Williams as an example. Robin Williams killed himself.
I was just going to say him.
Robin Williams, right? Famous. He can be banging 19-year-olds for the rest of his life. Multi-millionaire. Everyone loves him. How could he possibly kill himself? I'll tell you why. Because when he walked into the therapist's office and said, I feel depressed, the therapist said, okay, here's some mind-altering drugs. Start taking these. And then I need to see you 6 hours a day, every day, and we're going to talk about sad things for the next 10 years. Because he was in therapy for 10 years.
Oh, God.
If I had to take mind-altering drugs and talk about sad shit for 6 hours a day for 10 years, I'd kill myself. But if he would have walked into the therapist's office and the therapist said to him, you're Robin Williams. There are people in the world with no food.
Yeah.
There are families in Syria.
I say this
there
every
are
time.
school buses being bombed in Yemen. There are people who lost their entire family in a car crash today. You're Robin Williams, and everyone you love is in perfect health. You're a selfish idiot. Get out of my office. Get some balls.
Bam.
He'd still be alive today. The cure made it worse. And this whole society of accepting depression, as soon as someone's depressed, instantly go to them, oh, poor you. It's okay. We know you can't help it. You can't help it. Why are you telling people they can't help it? Why are you reinforcing that mindset in people? If you come to me and say you're depressed, I say, I will fix you. And you know what's crazy? When I said this depression thing wasn't real, do you know how many people stuck up for depression? You don't understand. I'm depressed. Depression's real. I was like, if it's so horrible, why are you defending it? You sound like it's PR team. Why, what? I thought it was ruining your life, but you are desperate for me to believe in it. You want me to believe in it. You're sticking up for it. You're defending depression, trying to convince me it's real because it's your cure-all excuse for failure. When you're depressed, you can fail in every human metric. I fail at everything, but I'm depressed. It's not my fault. No, you're a failure. That's all you are because you're not trying very hard. If you live in a house, I say this all the time. This is the reason I don't believe in depression. Because I don't believe in depression, I cannot become depressed.
Bam.
No matter what the worst thing that could possibly happen to me on earth, I will feel sad, but I will recover and I will not become depressed because I don't believe in depression. If you're in an old haunted house, right? You have two people in two haunted houses. One believes in ghosts and one doesn't. You hear some noise in the night. The wind blows, right? The man who believes in ghosts is like, oh no, a ghost. Now he's scared, right? He wants an exorcist. He can't sleep. He's scared about ghosts. He's paranoid. The guy who doesn't believe in ghosts goes wind, whatever, and goes back to sleep. Do you understand that it's the belief that gives it power?
Right.
If you don't believe in ghosts, the ghost can't hurt you. If you don't believe in depression, you can't become depressed. And I refuse to believe in something that's going to weaken me. Why would I believe in something that's going to weaken my ability to deal with problems in life? Why would I do that? I'm temporarily immortal. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yeah. I'm temporarily immortal. And I'm not going to waste my living years believing in things which take power from me. Because I'm not an idiot. So if you're going to sit there and go, depression is real, actually, you don't understand the problems I'm going through. You're a moron. You are a moron. And the great thing about morons is, as you lose, there's no light without dark, right? There's no joy without pain.
Of course.
For me to be a winner, there needs to be losers. If you want to be depressed and sit around broke while I'm flexing in the Lambo,
Simps.
then do it. Go do it. But you're not going to convince me to join your way of thinking. The last thing, anyone who's watching this, I want you to understand, the last thing you should ever do is adopt the thinking of someone who is sad.
Bam.
Why would you want to think like the sad person? I'm sad and I'm semi-suicidal. You should have the same views and beliefs as me. Get the fuck out of here.
No,
depression.
Damn.
It ain't real. There, I've just blown out the water. It's not real. You can come at me and say whatever you want. It's not real.
That was a video of Andrew Tate. You know, before I ask you for your input, he has some type of like just the way he speaks. He reminds me of, you know, The Rock in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Where he's just kind of just like electrifying.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He has a goal in mind and he'll just fucking like just try to drill it in your, not drill in your head, but he has some type of initiative in his words.
He knows how to entertain. He knows how to podcast.
Like The Rock.
He knows how to podcast. Yeah,
you know?
he's a good pod. He's gonna be a hit.
Now, he said depression isn't a sickness or a disease. It's a mental state that you can and should get out of it on your own. No pills, no help, etc. What was your reaction with that video?
I agree. I don't think it's a disease.
Right.
I never have thought it was a disease. I do think it's a state. I mean, he said a lot of different things in it. I don't know. Are you going to break them down individually? Did you write down individually what he actually went through, or no?
No.
Okay,
just your reaction. I
Okay.
mean, it's
Overall?
7 minutes. I mean, he said a lot of shit.
Yeah, he
so
did. So I'm
it would
just
be
gonna
like
go,
a paragraph of
yeah.
each
That's what I'm like. That was a lot.
Yeah,
but
no.
At the end of the day,
Right.
a lot of what he said I thought was right. Obviously, he's very over the top because he's entertaining as a podcaster. That's what we do, right? But the whole selfish thing with the suicide, I'm not going to lie. It took me a long time to kind of like see that point, because he's right to a point, man. Because you don't realize sometimes what we belittle ourselves so much that we don't realize what our existence does for our community, to our people, about the people we love, everything, right? So we don't realize our impact on the world. We don't realize it.
Right.
People can see us every single day. Your neighbor can see you every single day come in this building, and that could bring them so much fucking joy, and you probably have no idea. But that's besides the point, right? A lot of times I think I've heard and I've done my research is that when people, want to go that route, they think, oh, maybe they'll be better off. That person would be better off with me not around. I cause issues. I'm a burden. You know what I mean? It's perspective. Again, it all comes down to perspective, right? Because your perspective maybe isn't you being selfish. You're not even seeing that point, right? So I think that's sometimes what in therapy they try to make you see is the different perspective, or maybe get you to see, and then, all the lights start shining and all that type of stuff. Because it's like, obviously they didn't think that in the moment, maybe, they probably didn't think that in the moment. They probably didn't, think about their kids. They probably thought about their kids, but maybe they thought it would be beneficial. Oh, wow, you won't have to deal with me. Or I won't be a burden to you anymore.
Right.
All those other things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has valid points, but it's like how people are perceiving it. It goes back to like, gaslighting and everything like that is like, you're trying to tell someone the emotion that they're feeling, and it's like they're feeling a certain emotion.
Right.
If they're feeling that way, it's getting people to have that perspective shift at the end of the day, having people to shift to see that, oh, wow,
so have the perspective of Andrew Tate in to a certain extent.
to a point. You know, obviously certain things he's saying. I mean, I definitely think how he's saying like how depression isn't real and about the whole changing. Like, you know, he was talking about the whole weight thing, right? I've actually definitely experienced that. You know, I've dealt with depression, like I said, almost all my life. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been overweight all my life, and has it caused a lot of things to mess with my mental health? 1,000%.
Right.
But at the end of the day, most of the times, those weren't even really the things that was really that was getting me to be depressed. Like, yeah, I would always be upset about it, but I knew I could change it. You know, sometimes people know the things you could change. Like, I know, oh, okay, I could change my weight. You know what I'm saying? I'm not upset about that. It's a lot of things deeper, right? And I talk with a lot of people. It's the things that you can't change. You know, a lot of people are upset and sad about the things that they could change. And he's right. Get up off your ass and go make the fucking change. But there's also other things that death, you know, friends ghosting you, you know, being lonely. Like there's all those other things that it's like, maybe you can't really change. You know what I mean? Like if fucking, like my mom passed away from heroin addiction. She got depressed because 3 of her brothers just passed away in fucking 4 years. All from the same thing. You can't control, you can't really, yes, what she could have did is she could have controlled her perspective on the situation.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But she couldn't have changed that from happening. Some shit you just can't change. You know? Like my weight, if I'm upset about my weight today and today I'm really depressed, guess what? I can make that change. I can go do something better to go to make the change. But there's certain things in life that the world is just going to hit you and just throw at you. This, you know, like God forbid your house could burn down. Things could happen. And I think that's a lot of times with the things that the real shit that we go through that people don't realize. It's those things. It's, you know, it's not on the surface. And that's most of the times we think is the surface. Oh, he's overweight, so he must be depressed because he's overweight. Or, you know, this, and oh, she's poor. It's sometimes so much deeper than that. You know, it's only other things that maybe you don't know about because you're not talking to them, you know? So it's kind of like that. That was the whole thing about he's saying, you know, you could change. Not everything you can change. However, everything you can change your perspective. Because those 3 brothers that passed away from my mom, she could have looked at that as completely different and say, oh, that's not the route I want to go.
Yeah.
I got to live my life like this.
Right.
However, she took a different route.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's good perspective. Yeah. Touching base on that, I mean, he said, let's say he can fix depression from, you know, someone who's poor that arguably can't do anything about it, let's say in a third world country.
Yeah.
And make him happy and get him out of the depressed state by giving them, let's say, $1 million.
I agree to a point. I will be honest. Everyone always has a conversation of money won't make you happy. Yes.
Yeah.
I 1,000% believe every time I have more money, guess what? I'm more happier.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? People don't want to talk about it because it sounds nasty and it sounds crazy. You know what I'm saying? I've had this, you know, and I was definitely never that guy to believe so. I never was. But then I started really thinking, yo, what are sometimes a lot of the things that I'm upset about? Maybe I'm not super depressed about, but the things that I'm upset about on a daily basis that have to add up to my overall happiness.
Right.
Guess what? Money would fix that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If I want to make sure my daughter has a fucking amazing, you know, college experience or whatever, guess what? Pay it. Whatever the case is, money can, you know, and that's a whole nother
and
you
you
know,
could
podcast for another day.
Yeah, and you could get whatever you want with the money. Like DJ Khaled, you know, he's overweight, but he can buy anything he wants.
Yeah, he could have a personal trainer every single day. He could have a fucking chef to cook all his meals every day, and he could fucking hire someone to sit and speak motivational speeches in his head all day. Like, money can help a lot of those things.
Right.
So yes, it can't help everything, right? Even just like, and I'm not even for medication because he mentioned about the whole medication thing. Yeah. I don't agree upon that, especially because like he said, you know, you sad stuff. I do know that. You start listening to sad music every day. I did it for a while too. One of my favorite artists is the fucking Mood God of fucking, you know, hip hop, depressive music. And I loved it and it helped. But also at the same time, sometimes that shit will bring you down as well. Yeah. So talking to maybe a therapist that's just going to bring you down that rabbit hole, depending on how they're doing it, plus trying to feed you some medication, that might be actually be doing it worse.
Yeah, that's a unique example with the Robin Williams. When I first saw that, I was like, holy shit, like,
because that's a very old approach to therapy.
10 years seeing a therapist and just being on medication.
Yeah, of course.
And just talking about depression.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah.
You have to be, your environment has to change.
Right.
That's the biggest thing I've learned with people. You know, like someone hit me recently. It was like, yo, the dude I'm with is on heroin. You know, he wants to get back to heroin. What do I do? First thing I said, yo, change his environments, change his exposure. You know, I always believe the 5 people you're around, that's like who your minds will be like. Right. You know, bring them to different things. Go to fucking art galleries. Go bowling. Like, switch up your environment, switch up your exposure. It's everything.
Yeah. What's your transitioning from that? And it kind of ties into, you know, the popular case right now that's been going on and finally was finalized, the Johnny Depp and the Amber Heard case.
Okay.
You know, what's your position on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case?
I'll be honest, I didn't deep dive into it. I just saw basic clips, so I really don't know. I can't speak on that too much because I wasn't really, you know, well versed on that. But I mean,
well, I mean, if you want a summary, basically, Amber Heard, you know, accused Johnny Depp of, you know, physical assault. Back in 2016, the final outcome was he was innocent. There was no proof of him being, you know, being at fault. Amber Heard made up the whole time. Johnny Depp has been basically canceled from movies, shows, etc. since 2016. Now it's 2022. He's already been canceled for X amount of years. The damage was already done, and it was because Amber Heard just lied, just to kind of either get money or get publicity, etc.
That happens all the time, unfortunately. You know, it's just another things in life that we have to just kind of deal with and go through. Thank God that he's powered through and just keep, you know, it's in that perspective, man. You know, you never know. Like, even things sometimes are so much bigger than us. That case maybe had to happen to change so many other people's lives
in the future.
Yeah. Like, you don't know. And like, we're selfish. We are selfish.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of cases like this. And this is Johnny Depp. He has all the funds in the world. He has all the money in the world. And he won because he had good lawyers and whatnot.
Exactly. And now maybe other people will look at situations like this a little longer. Right. One more second.
Exactly.
They'll look at it and say, you know what? Maybe. Because it's always a greater cause. You know? It's always greater. You know, we're selfish a lot of times. We think something is happening. Oh, is it affecting me, my existence? Right. No. What is happening to you is maybe for so many other reasons. Like, I have things going on in my life right now. And guess what? It hurts on my end and it sucks or whatever. But guess what? Maybe the person that's on the other side of it, maybe they need to go through that to become the person they need to become. You just never know. Right.
Do you think the cancel culture, you know, he's been canceled for so long. What's your opinion on cancel culture? Like, do you think someone should get canceled or would get canceled if they say the wrong thing, or people just kind of twist your words or whatnot?
No, I mean, I will say people are very sensitive in this era. You know, I say that a lot. People are very sensitive, and I know that could even be gaslighting because you're telling people, you know, how they feel. Yeah. But it's just my honest opinion, man. I think the cancel culture is definitely trash because it's like, I always live by the saying, and this is just overall in life, you know, I don't judge someone because they sin differently than I do. Right. You know, we all sin. You know, you sin, I sin. We all do different things. And all the time we judge other people for sinning just because they sin differently than we do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, at the end of the day, they're a fucking human too, you know? And it's like, we all go through bad moments in our lives. We all go through moments that we said the wrong thing. We're not fucking perfect. We're only human at the end of the day. There's no such thing as perfect. And all these people that are just trying to cancel people, they're basically just saying, oh no, you're not perfect. You know?
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, getting out of the topic, what's your future ambition, Joe? For your career, for your job, you know, therapy without a degree, like what do you see yourself, you know, at in, let's say, 5 years, 10 years?
In 5 years, man, I definitely want to just keep creating films and projects that are always going to have messages from just the things that I learned in my life, you know, whether it is towards mental health, whether it's towards other things, you know, that's what I like to do. I like to take, you know, certain messages that I have or experiences or, you know, sometimes that, you know, not judging someone because they sin differently than you do, like taking those situations and, you know, putting it maybe in a film so you can see that and be like, oh, you know, change your perspective a little bit now, exactly. You know what I mean? You know, things like that. So, you know, definitely tap more into the film industry and you know, do more series and things like that. We have, things lined up that we might be doing. Can't talk too much about it, but
that's dope, bro.
in that world of the whole film industry, and then just keep elevating Jersey media, helping businesses get more attention. Personally, just try to transform my health and my fitness and my journey just to be a better man. Just to be a better human overall. Like every day I'm always trying to do things little by little just to overall change my personal development.
Amen. What about 10 years then? Let's say
10 years, man. Just to
do you see Jersey media being like this juggernaut of a company?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I see it being a franchise. Definitely. Huge all over every single state. I don't think there's no reason why we should just stick to Jersey.
Yeah, why not? Right?
So I definitely feel like all over, because we have a very unique approach to the way we do our marketing and getting attention for businesses. Yeah, man. So 1,000%, I already know. In 10 years, it's going to be, definitely a well-known, like household name.
Bro,
brand.
I see it, and that's why I'm working with you.
Hey, thank you,
know
bro.
what I'm saying, bro? Any questions for me?
Where can they find you? And we're gonna interview him, so we're gonna save a lot of. I got questions.
All right, bro.
When I interview you, but where can they find you?
You guys could find me on Instagram at abarca.fitness, ABARCA _fitness. I have my channel now on YouTube. This is my second season of the Abarcast.
Let's go.
And where can people find you, man? What about the series, your pages, the whole nine?
Everything, right? So the Therapy Without a Degree series you can find on YouTube. You click on the little playlist and go series, because if not, you'll just see a lot of the podcasts, because we have like 232 episodes. So there's the podcast there if you want to listen to the podcast. Very unconventional therapy, barbershop style talk for, current events, situations, mental health topics, things I'm going through. I want to, get into, my dating life and all that type of stuff. It's all right there. So we have that, therapywithouitadegree.com, jersey-media.com. If you want to, for marketing, advertising. Also, we do billboards as well. So if you want, your business on a nice billboard in your area.
Bro, I saw Jersey Media in Times Square.
Yes.
Bro.
So
we can
get
big
you guys
things.
in Times Square.
Big things.
All right, I can get you all in Times Square if y'all want. We do that. Instagram is really where you can find me. I'm trying to become more of a TikToker. I'm on Clubhouse. I'm on Facebook. I'm in these streets, man.
It's tagged below. Joe, if you don't mind,
yes,
would you like to take a shot with me? Toast to your business?
Sure, let's do
it, man. What would you like?
Honestly, I was eyeing. You have a liquor with your name on it. Like, how did this happen?
This is...
It really looks like Hennessy. Is that your version of Hennessy?
It is. This was a gift from one of my clients. It says, best trainer ever. It says, Brian Abarca, thank you for turning my cannots into cans.
That's fire.
This is from one of my clients, Steph. Yeah. Let's take a shot of that?
Yeah,
why don't you grab one of the shot glasses? Anyone you want. Doesn't matter. There you go. The Abarcast official shots, guys. Shot glasses.
Let's do it.
There you go, man.
Bro,
listen, it was a pleasure. I really wanted to pick your brain with all these topics, the video too, Therapy Without a Degree. The theme was psychology today. That's why I got you here. And bro, I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot from this conversation.
Word. Thank you,
I appreciate you, man. Hope to have you again soon.
Yeah, next time we'll talk maybe on the marketing side.
Yes, sir.
Get people their business right.
Salud, bro. God. Woo! All right, guys, this is The Cap. I love you all. Welcome to season 2. Oh, man, I just grew some chest hair. And yeah, guys, I love you all. Please check out his pages. Please check out my pages. And if you guys want us to answer or me to answer any more questions, please DM us, email us, text us. Love you all. Have a good night.
Peace.